Greetings and welcome to God and Light Podcast with your host, R.H. Alexander. And it's been a while. I hope we all been developing in certain ways, right? It's been a while. Let's just say it's been about almost 2 months, Mill City. All right, I've applied my time into playing the guitar. I said I'd give myself 5 minutes, and 5 minutes turned into something I did constantly, and I kept playing with it, and I found a way to make 5 minutes 30 minutes. I found a way. Now I enjoy it. I enjoy writing words together and try to see if I could sing that in a composition to music, and I found progress in that. I found growth. I found that music in me, which I believe everyone has. Everyone has that music in them. And I'm finding my music. I'm finding my voice in my music. I'm finding what I want to speak about, what I want my foundation to be, and I can evolve in any way I want to, and it's my prerogative. And I can see the creativity in music, right? Right, even if it's just a chord at a time, but eventually. So today we'll be speaking about, or I'd like to touch base on looking back. All right. And we'll see how far we go with this conversation. All right. Because when you think about looking back, you think about reminiscent, the one that got away. If I could, I would do this different. I would have done this different. And it seems that when we look back, right, sometimes we're actually looking back, and we're looking back at something that went wrong, right? Something I could have done better. I could have handled better, right? And there's growth in looking back, but it's the past, and there's nothing you can do to fix the past, right? And you can apply this to everything. Everything. All right? The more you think about the past and what could have, and in whichever regards, the death of a loved one, or breaking up of a relationship, the selling of an item, I regret settling that. I mean, whatever it may be, right? It cannot be undone. But what can be done is in the future, right? So while you spending time about what could have been, time is still ticking. It's still moving on. It hasn't paused at all. It hasn't, right? And when you think about it, it's like time is an illusion, right? And the only thing that time does, or we seem to place it into a device that says that this is what today is, this is what time it is, as a form of discipline, right? But a discipline for what? When you look back, to continue doing the same thing that you're doing today that your parents did, and then your children will do, and their children, and so on and so forth, in time. And everything is documented in this time that is called today, right? And if you could understand this conversation, then you will understand that if I think about a better tomorrow, I work towards a better tomorrow, Not in fear. Not in fear. Can't build a tomorrow because of I fear this is going to happen. Because guess what? That will happen. It has to. Because that is the foundation of why you created what it is that you created. You didn't create it out of necessity that it will continue to become something. You created on the fact that I will lack something in the future. Right? And you have to understand the future is also compressed in this time that you have imagined, right? And whatever it is that you're imagining is only growing till the time it actually occurs. So now you have to ask yourself, what are you building when you're actually living in the past, right? You're not constant in the future. And if you're constant in the future, you should be constant in the future, progressing towards the present, progressing towards the future. All right, and this is something that I'm not only speaking on, but this is something that I'm actually observing, right? Because I've been playing the guitar, and I've actually loved playing the guitar. I found some kind of relaxation. I found something in it that's amazing for myself. And I've seen things, or let's put it this way. What has been dissolving out of my life since I've been playing the guitar? Less time watching television, more time playing this instrument. Less time thinking about stuff that I would not have been, that I probably would have been thinking if my mind wasn't into this instrument, or into trying to create a song, or just singing something, or try to create something that is called music. You understand what I'm saying? But I'm into it. And I'm into it in a way where I'm just thinking about, man, what words would go next with this verse. So now I'm thinking about something that is growing every day in the future. I'm building upon something, like a puzzle. Every day you put in a piece, or playing chess, every day you make a move, and you think about your next move. You know what I'm saying? And you can see the progress in that. But when you have nothing but television, right? And you have nothing but something that isn't something that would progress you or improve you, then in a sense, I won't say you're wasting time, but time is ticking and you haven't increased anything. It's like you have a bucket, you go to the well, and you're so busy on your phone that everyone got their pail filled. And now it's time for you to get some water, right? And there's still water in the well. It's just now the string is not as, or the rope that's lowers the bucket is it's not going that far. So how are you supposed to get water now? Right? Wasted opportunities. Right? Here, all this time you could have got your water, and you could have played with your phone, right? Back to your cottage, and get on the internet, right? Wasted opportunities, right? Something, man. Something that you're missing when you're not doing something that is going to increase you tomorrow or progress you in the future, right? It's like working, and yes, it might be a meaningless task, right? You get up every day, you do it, but if you're constructive with every time you make $1, right, what you're going to do with that dollar, How you are you going to save it? Or are you going to invest it? And it's better to save it before you invest it, right? Because there's always opportunities, right? And it's not the opportunities that you create. Some of the times that, or most of the times that actually fall in favor for you is the ones that come unexpectedly, right? And you say, oh, wow, thank God, right? So you know where it came from, right? And now if you saved your money, right, and now you have all these dollars, and now you can put into this opportunity that might be able to turn more dollars into dollars for you. See, that's an opportunity, right? This is something that you accumulated from a meaningless task, but you managed to respect it, and you managed to respect the dollar that you made from this meaningless task, regardless of what it is. I don't care if you're a president of the United States, right? You respected that dollar, and then you did something with that dollar that turned around and did something for you, right? I mean, there's not a need to go to the movies every day. There's not a need to wash your car every day. There's not a need. There's really not a need, right? If you're working for your dollars, right? If you think about what I'm saying, right? So look at all the dollars that you could save, right? And then you look back and you say, wow, man, I didn't need to buy that $3,500 shoe. Oh, man, I didn't need to buy that $5,000 jacket. Oh, man, I didn't need to buy that $350,000 car, right? You look at certain things. Well, then again, if you're buying a $350,000 car, hopefully you have some kind of tax management, so you have an idea what's going on when you spend that kind of money, but you probably won't spend that money. You would lease it. But looking back, right, all the things that you've done wrong, man, I had $100,000 yesterday, and I went to the club with my friends, and now I have $100 left, right? Are your friends going to give you back whatever you spent? Nope. Is the club going to give you back whatever you spent? Nope. Is the girls that you spent buying drinks for going to? Nope. Nope. You're not going to get money back from anything. These things were assets that depreciated rapidly, right? They had no value, right? You had $100,000. You walked into the club and now you have $100 to your name. Looking back, you realize that was a bad investment, right? You could have stayed in your house and just Netflix it and still have $100,000, right? So we're looking back, and we realize is our decision-making skills. They're questionable at best, right? And being a life coach and just being a life coach for myself, I actually think before I spend $1. I have to think about it. And it's not me being frugal. I don't want you to think that you're being frugal or you're being cheap. You're just understanding you have an investment in yourself. Something is going to come down the pipeline today or tomorrow, and you should have dollars in your hand or access to dollars that you can invest dollars to create more dollars for you tomorrow. And I understand. Some might be living paycheck to paycheck, maybe paycheck to paycheck, but there's still an opportunity to cut something, right? You're living paycheck to paycheck, but you have Hulu, you have Apple, you have Disney, you have YouTube Plus, you have Paramount. You hear where I'm going with this? Right, so here's a person that is making it as they earn it, and they spending it as they earn it. And I know life happens, but there's an opportunity for you that things are going to get better. You just have no idea when. So it's always better to always have something in reserve, right? I mean, you don't need a new car. It depreciates the minute you accept it and you drive it off the lot. It depreciates every day you start that engine, right? So if it's a used car, is it going to depreciate? Zero. It's a used car, who cares, right? You clean it, you take care of it, and it's your car, right? If it's a new car, then you got to clean it, take care of it, and it's like, oh, that's my new car, and you feeling nice about it. But eventually, the season is going to come where that is now no longer going to be a new car. It's going to be an old car because there's going to be a newer version, a newer model. You understand what I'm saying? You understand how looking back, right? If you learn your lessons now, then you'll not ever have to look back about, oh man, I just got into debt for $65,000 for buying a car, right? Or 300 or a million point something dollars for buying a piece of real estate. And they say a real estate does appreciate, right? But the only thing about real estate is, in my opinion, right? I'm not a real estate agent. I'm just a connoisseur of intelligence. All right. So here's a neighborhood that is at best $350,000 real estate value, right? Here's a property that was constructed in the early 1900s. Okay, so we already know it's 100+ years old already, right? And we look at the demographic area, because we always have to play the demographic area. Demographic area comes before anything else, because when you're trying to receive or trying to understand the value in anything, you have to look at the ethnic group and the earning potential and so on and so forth, right? And that creates what value, right, a real estate market is in that area, right? I mean, if it's illegal, then they'll say it's $1 million, but it's not really $1 million. It's impossible for it to be $1 million. They'll tell you cost of living. They'll tell you gentrification and so on and so on and so forth. But gentrification has been happening in the area slowly but surely anyway, and the prices was always the same, right? So when it decides to go up, it's not going up because it is value. It's going up because someone is trying to take something for nothing, right? So looking back now, we realize that either we do it ourselves or we continue getting robbed to our faces. And you have to look at it that way, because now when you go shopping, you can be a connoisseur of doing the right thing, or you could be a person that's just releasing your money willy-nilly. Right? There's certain things that you don't need to purchase. There's certain things that you do need. Right? So there's a difference between need and want. And looking back, if you put back all the things that you want and get all the things that you need, you'll realize that you'll have more capital tomorrow. Right? You might be a little healthier because some of the things that you do want are the things that you shouldn't eat, shouldn't consume. Right? And again, this is just a matter of, one, paying attention to your asset, your number one asset, which is yourself, right? The more you spend on yourself when it comes to food is the more you're actually harming yourself. You say you're eating the best, but when you're eating the best, you're actually eating not the best. Right? Because simple is more when it comes to the body, especially in today's time where you can't trust. Right? Everything is questionable. Right? Simple at best. So then looking back in 10 years, if you practice certain things, right? Looking back, you find yourself, you were healthier for the past 10 years, right? You gave your mind something else to concentrate on other than what is the norm, right? For the general population, which is the television, right? And I and understand this. I understand that television can be used in a productive way, right? But it's just a waste of time. That's basically what a television is for, right? A waste of time. You have 2 hours to waste on a movie. You have 45 minutes or an hour to waste on a TV program. You have hours to waste, right? And looking back, what did you create for yourself? What did you do for yourself? How did you self-improve yourself, right? Because you have to understand, right? Eventually, human beings, they say, get old, right? And I'm challenging this thing. I'm challenging this theory, right? Because you're only as old as you feel, or you're only as see that the word old itself is not a positive word, right? Mature, right? So a mature person only matures. They mature in intelligence, they mature in beauty, they mature in love, they mature in creativity, they mature into something. What are you maturing into? Right? A lot of us, we take on titles and we take on personas and we look according to those personas. Right? I mean, I could go into the redwood forest and I'll see a redwood or a sequoia tree and it's big as life. And you will say it's old. And it's not old. It's matured. It's matured. We could go into this forest and we can see these mature trees, these gigantic trees with base that are so enormous, and they're not old. They just matured, right? And they're stuck in that ground. They can't move to a better part of town. They can't move to a better position on the mountain or on the hill, right? They cannot change their location. They're fixated in that spot. And they've done it for hundreds and thousands of years because there were bigger trees than these, right? And these things just grew and grew and grew and grew. And then you look at the human race or mankind or whatever we are today, right? That's questionable at best. What are we progressing towards? Because we'll look back on today and we'll see that a lack of paying attention to our surroundings, the news of the day, and what has been going on, right, is not just something that should be taken lightly, right? Because if you go back into history, right, and history is just 360. 360 is history. It always repeats itself. It doesn't ever venture outside of the scope of 360 history. You see it today, come back in 10 years, 5 years, whatever that 360 for that certain trend or whatever that is being put as a norm, should be a norm or a trend, right? Or part of the culture. It'll fade away. And then and something else from history, 360, will come back, and that'll be the new trend. Do you understand? Now, if you could understand that history is 360, and looking back at history and seeing what is taking place in society today. If you understand 360, you know exactly what is going to happen. Right? So there's no reason for you to be caught off guard when you see what you see, or you hear what you hear, and you see how people are performing in the world. Right? They say the world has lost its mind. The world hasn't lost its mind. Everything that's crawling on the earth and running around the earth and flying across the earth and driving their cars around the earth, upon the earth, is creating a problem on the earth, not the world. Right? The world is just a host. Right? And looking back, it never worked in mankind's favor, human race favor, any culture's favor, because history always shown that their history, right? And someone else comes in and they now adopt the 360, right? So their reign will be 100 years, 500 years, 300 years. Either way, it's 360 is going to come to an end. Looking back, who wants to be part of a system that's failing? Raise your hand. Right? I don't want to be part of a system that's failing. I want to be part of a system that's progressing, but the system is not progressing. Right? And technology is not progressing because technology is built by the system. And if the system is not progressing, then technology is not progressing. Technology is just another manufactured product of the system. Right? Like a pair of Air Jordans. Right? That's all it is. Same basketball shoe is just a different design. They just happen to call it technology. They just happen to call it whatever they want to call it. But it's still the same thing. Nothing new. Now, looking back, if you understand 360 and nothing new, then there's no reason why you should not be working on a master plan to become the next billionaire out here, because Amazon is not all that is cracked up to be. Disney is not all what it cracked up to be. Netflix isn't. Because Blockbuster was before Netflix. And Netflix was the first one, so guess what? See? 360. Right? Yeah, so there's a next product that's going to remove all these other guys. You just have to understand how it works. Right? But you need to save your dollars. So when these opportunities happen to come, you got it on the ground floor of when Netflix was, people say, they'll never take off because Blockbuster was it. Right? Where's the video store right now? There is no video store. Right? Yet. But that's the next frontier. Back to video store. Because these yahoos on these platforms is out of control. And you'll get it. You'll get it, because looking back is better to do things the way it was. You'll see. You'll see, because this is about looking back. Right? Because when you're looking back, looking forward, you realize that this is not going to sustain itself. Technology cannot sustain itself in this society. It's impossible. It's impossible. Right? I'm not a betting man, but I understand history. 360. Right? Everything has a bubble. Everything has a bubble. Everything has a bubble. Even a government. Everything has a bubble. And if history has not taught mankind anything, everything comes to an end. Now, you can make a whole lot of money off this end. You just need to understand where the end is going to happen. You just need to understand where. Right? It'll take place. And then you'll need to understand where you should invest your dollars. And looking back, if you do not pay attention, then you're going to miss the second coming or the third coming, right? But trust me on this one. This one will be the one that lasts a long time. It's not going to be a 5-year, 10-year, or 15-year bust like these plans that are out now. They're not going to last long. It cannot sustain itself because the infrastructure there is no infrastructure.